business.
Yeah, no,
Sure.
it's cool. I was sharing updates with the community anyway.
Okay. I'm just gonna be hunting munchlaxes. Don't mind me.
You and your goddamn Pokemons.
That sounds like jealousy to me.
Looks like Cliff is going to join us.
Awesome.
Excellent. So now it technically is all the boys.
Let's
I mean,
hear it
Hello?
for the boys.
hey,
Hello.
Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Going well. Let me put that link for you in here. Where are you putting that? What are you going to do with that link? Just so I know not to double up on it.
I'm gonna pass it along to my other guys. Nothing you need to concern yourself with.
Okay. All right. Here's this. How you doing, Cliff? Did I already ask you that?
I'm doing well. Yep. How are you?
I'm good. Apparently not good enough to remember what I just asked you, though.
Yeah, I've been busy. I picked up a day job that will normally be part-time, but this time of year it's full-time. So, yeah, that and I've had some DJ gigs come in, so it's been nice. Yeah, good for money, bad for having time on my hands.
Yeah.
On the subject of music, you should check out this guy. He also makes Shadowrun music. I don't know if you wanna.
Is this that Johnny Nuclear?
Yeah, I don't know if that had been brought to your attention as a musical person. I haven't listened to a
has
bunch of
not.
it because I am lazy.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
Definitely. We plugged him on the last episode of the Sixth World podcast. You should definitely. He's been only on Reddit, and I know you're not on Reddit, Cliff. So that's probably why you haven't heard. And yeah, you should give that a listen. Plug him on your show. He's pretty good.
Cool. I'll check it out. Thank you.
All right. I'm about to at least get the intro started and start recording. So, just giving you guys a heads up. Just a second. I'm gonna play this intro music, and then we're gonna go like we always do. And I've just got to figure out how to pop out this chat. Here we go. All right, we're recording, so 3, 2, 1, and we get started now. Hey everyone, welcome to the Complex Action Actual Play Cast Party, number 3 Cast Party. This is the episode that we do every month where we get together for about an hour, hit the record button, have a nice casual time talking about the campaign, what we've been doing so far, how things have been going, what our thoughts are, out of character, in character, whatever. We just generally have a good time hanging out, giving people an opportunity to kind of get a behind-the-scenes look at our thoughts and our approach to the campaign and all that jazz. We also record it live, so I would like to say hello to the chat room, who's there already. It sounded like someone was about to speak up.
yeah, it's one of the Todds. I don't know which one it is. I don't know if I can trust them.
Can never trust the Todds. So with us tonight, we have 3 of our cast members. and that would be Damien, who plays Payday. So hello, Damien.
Hello, everyone.
And we have Cliff, or Mr. Johnson, who plays Elric.
Hello.
And Rob, who plays Payday. Not Payday. What am I saying?
You play Payday 2?
I mean, I used to play Payday, and then they changed their whole pay-to-win strategy, and it just became a significantly less interesting game.
He instead plays Leroy, and say hello.
Hello.
I have collected. Normally, I try to collect a few questions. I only got one today. Coming off of the Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States, I've been pretty busy, so wasn't able to plug this episode as much as I have in the past. But I got one for those in the chat already, and I'll mention this a couple more times before the end of the episode. Chime in with any questions that you have live, and we'll try to answer them as we go through today. We love to answer questions. So just do that. Make sure you kind of preface that with a bunch of question marks or something to make it stand out, so I don't miss it. Also, for those of you who are listening maybe at home, you've downloaded this later after the fact, in the future, or even those live, if at any time throughout the month you want to send us a question for the cast party, you can do that at the Complex Action website using the contact form. It's complexaction.net /actual. No, I guess the contact form would be /contact, I think. There's a link at the top. It's a contact link. Just put cast party question in the subject line so that I can pull that out easier. That is my phone ringing. I'll be more. I'll silence that so we don't have to deal with that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Look, we're not professionals around here.
I mean,
That's right.
Payday acts like a professional.
He's so not a professional.
He already hates the idea of being a professional.
But a couple of news items before I kick it off into our more, go with the flow kind of thing here. Actually, just basically one piece of news is that I'm experimenting with something on the actual play. If you've listened to the episode, the last episode or two, you should have already heard this, but I wanted to reiterate it again, in case anybody who's listening might have a question about it. I'm experimenting with people sponsoring an episode. The reason behind this is that we've got the Patreon for Complex Action, but there have been a lot of people who have expressed interest in doing like one-time sort of support, and I do have a PayPal link on the Complex Action website, but for that sort of thing. But I've never really pushed it because I kind of wanted there to be a more interesting way to give back or say thank you or something like that. So I'm just experimenting with this idea. If you want to sponsor an episode of the actual play, you just go on there. The details are on the support page on complexaction.net. And there's, when you do a PayPal donation, there's a notes field you can fill out and just put your name, and at the beginning of an episode it'll say like, today's episode sponsored by so and so. Or if you want to do like a read, there's an amount there for that, and you could do that. Like I could plug a project you're working on, or give somebody like an anniversary message or something. Whatever. I'm just experimenting with it. Tell me if you like the idea, or we'll see if we get anybody interested.
So you're selling out to our corporate overlords.
Yeah. Well, like if Complex
been
Action
extracted?
is the corporate overlord, then yeah. Oh, or
All right.
if anybody's advertising, if that's what you're saying, yes, we're selling out to those as well. So yeah, I debated on whether or not to tell everybody this or not, but I think we should break the news to start with, because I think it makes sense to. The next episode that comes out is going to kind of start making this more obvious, and that is that if you haven't figured it out yet, Haley is gone, so is not going to be part of is not in any of the future episodes. So surprise. It was no particular reason. Just Christina, who was playing Haley, wasn't able to join us for the actual play anymore, and we actually do have a replacement who's already playing with us and everything, and that character is going to get introduced very, very soon. And
Yeah, we're trying to keep it quiet, but her and Bobby had an epic falling out.
yeah, it was nasty. It was terrible. There was screaming and
You would not believe how badly Bobby complained about losing afterwards either.
yeah, it was definitely I lost. Chris Vandergriff asked in the chat, how many cast do we expect tonight? This is the 3 cast members tonight, the boys. Damien, or Payday, Leroy, and Elric are joining us tonight.
So you can close the window in disgust now.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
So yeah, you'll be introduced to the new cast member soon. We're really excited about that. Really awesome character, and either in the next episode or the episode after that. So, yeah. For those of you, as an aside, for those of you who are patrons, Complex Action patrons who voted for the direction that the story was going to be going, that direction was to explore Haley's backstory. Never fear, we're still doing that. There's still an interesting story to be told there, and we're still going to touch on that. So, but today, what we're going to be talking, or what we're going to be focusing on today, is we talked about it last time. We're gonna as sort of a way to structure our party today is going to be, we're going to do superlatives that people suggested to us, awards that we're going to give each other. You guys excited about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
You ought to be. You ought to be.
Excited and worried.
Worried about what Payday's going to get?
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be all the worst ones. So.
Most likely to succeed. Come on.
Most likely to succeed. That's what I would give him. So I'm pulling up my list here. So I was stalling with you guys.
Oh, well, you should have let us know. We would have carried the conversation.
Well, I got one here. We'll open up. You guys can stall a little bit longer. Ready? So the first one we're going to talk about is we're going to award. Now it's not just you guys, of course. Pillar and Haley are both included. They're just not here to defend themselves.
Exactly. Let's give it all to them.
So the first one we're gonna is I got suggested. Most of these were suggested by our listener, Handsome Bald Man. He's one of our listeners. He said most likely. First one he suggested was most likely to burn Edge.
Oh man.
Elric.
Yeah,
buddy.
it's gonna be Elric doing something dumb.
I can't really argue against that.
Here's a
With the way I've
question.
been playing, yeah.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
You know,
think
me too.
Let me split this into two. Do you think who's gonna be the first person to burn Edge to smack down something, versus who's gonna be the first to burn Edge to just survive a scene?
Well, that's a good question. I think everyone's like knee-jerk reaction to burning Edge is to save yourself from dying. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Courtney tends to burn Edge a lot to get stuff done.
I noticed
noticed.
that in the most recent set of episodes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It's such a, especially when you have an Edge of more than one or two, it's so expensive to replace. So yeah, it's hard to justify burning it unless it's a am I dead or not kind of situation.
Isn't that
Well, I
an
get to keep
interesting
playing.
kind of like? It almost seems backwards. Kind of an interesting thing. The more Edge you have, it's like the less you want to. The more Edge you have, the more in a way expensive it is to burn it.
Yeah, if you're down to one Edge, it's 5 karma to replace it. If you're at 7 Edge, you're looking at 35 to get back up there. That's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like the less edge you have, the more likely you are to end up in a situation where you need to burn it, because you have less control over the lead up to dice rolls.
Yeah, a lot of it's a lot of the danger level in Shadowrun is about the situation and how much control you have over it as you go into it.
Remind me, on a related note, I had the first burned edge on my shadow walking groups last night, and I can tell you the story about Wrestling Bro later on. But that situation was led to by the player really only having like one edge and some bad dice rolls and bad escalation choices.
Well, that kind of stuff happens. What about most likely to injure another party member?
Oh, that's 100% me.
On purpose?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, on purpose.
On purpose, 100% me. By accident, probably.
You have
Elric with
promised
a
to
giant
shoot
fireball.
Elric. You have promised to shoot Elric at some point, so he learns what it feels like. So
Yeah,
that's kind of why he was.
it's a
Never
good
mind.
idea.
I don't want. This
Go
might have been
ahead.
in a future session. So
Oh yeah, it
Sorry.
totally
You know,
was. Whoops.
That's a good cue for me
damn it!
to
I keep doing that.
that's a
Oh,
good
well, it's
cue for
nothing
me
important.
to set the stage for to remind everyone where we are in the actual play. I probably should have done this to lead into before we started talking about awards to be handed out. But so if you've been following along in the show, we are right now at the point where the team has gotten what at least some of the people on the team are calling their very first real Shadowrun. You know, they've been hired to break into a corporate facility, steal some data off of a host and a secure host that you have to be on site for, and get that data back and promise for, you know, cash and secrets to be paid out. And so they've been doing all the planning for that, and it seems like they've got all their ducks in a row. They've finished the planning, had some fun along the way, delivering pizzas and cocoa taxis, convincing young kids that you should believe in ghosts, and causing a ruckus at barbecue joints. That was the last episode. But you guys, the team just made a copy of a key card to get in by stealing it from janitorial staff, and they're ready to go. They just need to do it, and so that's where we are.
Look, I just want to say we were just trying to enjoy some barbecue. That's all we were trying to do.
Yeah,
I mean,
to
it
give
was-
some insight onto that, I was the whole reason I even made that happen was had to have been, I think it was between sessions right before that one. I was thinking, you know what I haven't done a lot of in the actual play in our campaign is we built up this whole Columbia, but I haven't really like touched a lot on setting the stage for the racism in Colombia. You know, I hadn't done a lot with that, so I wanted to push it in that session.
Well, it was a lot of fun. It's probably been one of my favorite episodes to date. So
It was.
I'm just not sure you were ready for how much certain people were going to push back.
Yeah,
I
I'm
see- I
glad
cer-
Elric wasn't there because now there's still a building there.
Yo, if you had like destroyed the barbecue place, there'd be a big problem, because I could still like call up a Grubhub guy and get him to deliver it for me or something.
Yeah, it was some good barbecue, Little Pig barbecue.
Like I
And,
said, it's a good thing Elric wasn't there. I don't think he would have intentionally burned down the building, but you know, fire gets on things and keeps burning sometimes.
Speaking of
you
Elric, go
sorry,
ahead, Damon.
I was about to say, didn't you say that Little Pig Barbecue is actually a place or something like that?
Yeah, it is a real place. It's actually my favorite barbecue place here in Columbia. So, Little
Nice.
Pig Barbecue. Maybe we can get them to sponsor their show. Speaking of Elric and some of his thoughts and motivations, we did get a question from our good friend on Twitter, K-Town Patriot, which is that I believe, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong in the chat room, I believe that is Chris Vandergriff in the chat room. He asked, what was the line of reasoning, this is for Elric, what was the line of reasoning behind Elric manifesting in the back seat of the pizza guy's car while Pillar was on her assignment? He said, it seemed as if people were bored and wanted to up their environment. And to be fair, it was played off beautifully by Pillar. So
I think he wanted to talk to Pillar. I don't recall my reasoning too clearly at this time.
So, like, you know, he just popped in without any concern for the pizza delivery guy, and you know,
I guess part of it was he figured he used a favor through Rudolph to hire this guy, so he should be in the know that he's doing some Shadowrun stuff. So he didn't really think anything of it to pop in and be a ghost. You know, he's part of what's going on. He didn't really know that Pillar was playing it this sort of real on the sly, much more gentle way to bring this guy in and out of the shadows.
sure.
So I think
right.
that's part of it too.
And
So that's as part of it was probably just Elric trying to show off that he can be a badass Shadowrunner a little bit. So it's part of that coming from.
I thought what's the big deal? It's just magic.
Yeah. It was mostly that, I imagine.
And then, of course, there's the whole thing that Elric sometimes doesn't exactly think about what he's doing before he does it. On the other hand, too, I mean, it's a hell of a lot more entertaining that way, don't you think?
It certainly was. I loved it. For those who might have missed the episode, there's a sort of a situation where Pillar is helping a pizza delivery guy, or at least using a pizza delivery guy as a cover, and Elric, once they do the thing that they're doing, this pizza delivery kid is driving Pillar around, and Elric pops in, who's manifests from the astral plane, and scares the pizza delivery kid and causes an entertaining ruckus. It was pretty good. So what about let's see, what about most likely? That's a sad one. Most likely to drink alone. That's a sad one too.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that one we already know who does that.
That's pretty obvious.
Well, let me clarify. Does having your digital girlfriend there count as drinking alone?
She's
question.
not. For the last time. For the love of God. She's not my girlfriend.
So
So yeah, definitely Payday.
yeah,
Just
he's definitely a brooding, quiet type.
probably with some sort of a beetle running that makes it seem like, you know, several hundred-year-old scotch or something.
The king of awkwardness. Payday.
I don't know. I would almost have to vote for Leroy, because Payday attempts to drink alone all the time, and keeps getting approached by women or annoyed by team members.
It's true.
That is a really good point.
I think we need to the goal of this campaign just came to get him married. We're gonna find you the one.
What about let's see. What about most likely to critically glitch on an etiquette test?
I think that's gonna be Payday again.
Yeah, I would have said Payday or Leroy. Either would be fun. Elric is certainly up there because he doesn't have a huge etiquette dice pool, and I don't like to use Edge to buy off critical glitches. One, because you get Edge back for critical glitching, and two, because critical glitches are always more interesting than not glitching.
So
True.
that was an etiquette question.
Hmm.
I don't know if Payday doesn't oftentimes get himself in situations where he has to do that kind of thing. He plays background grumbler.
Well,
Those
actually,
situations.
now that I think of it, hasn't this already happened? Aren't we actually describing the barbecue?
I think.
I mean, there was no actual die roll that was critically glitched, but that's a critically glitched etiquette test if I've ever seen one.
We all know they get worse than that.
I think that it wasn't critically glitched. You're right, but it was a failed test that caused them to get into that situation.
See, I think it's going to be Payday because he's going to end up like somewhere along the lines. He's going to like, I need to get myself out of this conversation with this woman that's hitting on me, and at that point, Bobby will probably ask for an etiquette test to exit gracefully.
Oh, they're coming now. Look what you guys have done to me.
I mean, all my ideas are good ideas.
And we all know that when Leroy and Payday team up, they're just a cult of personality. There's just charisma dice flying all over the place. They couldn't even get a safe house guy to tell them anything.
I mean, he eventually fessed up after, threats of physical violence happened.
What about so we've given some of these awards to the three of you guys. What about Pillar? Let's come up with something that would be good for her character.
So that actually works out because somebody in the chat just asked, most likely to get a run canceled.
And you think that
And,
would be Pillar?
I could totally, because she's a parole officer, and like last time we were talking about certain complications that might come up with that, and
That, and I think of all of us, she's the one most limited by morality.
That's a good point,
maybe.
and I never considered that angle, but I think you're absolutely right.
She cares about all these people way more than the rest of us. Even though Elric certainly tries to, I think Pillar understands them on a deeper level, and she's certainly better at talking to them. So I think in the case of getting a run canceled, it would be some sort of a moral thing, because something comes of light that we don't want to hurt, and Pillar puts her foot down.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
That's a good point. Like I said, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about Pillar being like sort of the moral one, but I think she is. Elric, I feel like Elric wants to be the moral one, but is he like being pulled is he being pulled in multiple directions because of different people in the team and having, different opinions and views and looking up to some and whatnot?
I think it's partly that, and also just part of trying to understand the situations he's in and not clearly anticipating the level of danger that he's going to have to react to, and particularly underestimating how Pillar being in danger might cause him to react in a way that might be more lethal than he's used to behaving.
Yeah. What about to change gears a little bit. I got a question. Where would this could be a good one again from K-Town Patriot on Twitter, our friend Chris Vandergriff. Where would each of you like to explore more? And it's kind of a vague question, and I like that, so I want you to interpret what it means. Where would each of you like to explore more?
I've got a good one.
Go ahead.
And it's actually not Payday. Payday could care less usually about most things. It's actually Eon, and it's gonna happen. She wants to go to that zoo that has VR animals and displays, so she can actually see them.
Yeah, it was mentioned on an episode not too long ago in the news that Horizon has just opened up a completely virtual reality experience at the Riverbank Zoo, which is it's the zoo in Colombia. So that would be interesting.
You guys could go as a double date.
Oh,
Since you spoke up, Rob, what would you like to, or what would you or Leroy like to explore more in this setting or?
So I actually really enjoyed the lowdown country boy of like the racist kids at the Little Pig. Like,
Yeah.
it was like we were just there doing this, and then it was like the confrontation happened, and I was like, okay, and then it just they would not back down, and
So
the
is it
inter-run downtime things like
Yeah.
Payday and Eon want to go on their date to the zoo. And it's like, maybe do something with the motorcycle club. Maybe we go out, one day since Elric was all happy about wanting to steal a bunch of stuff so we could get a car. Let's just cut out the middleman. We'll just go steal him a car one weekend.
Yeah. So you really you really enjoyed the so you were
It felt natural.
Yeah. So is it particularly the like good old boy kind of racist side of Colombia, that exploring that you enjoyed, or just the exploring the more like lower level personal aspects of the setting?
Shadowrunners are people.
Right.
And so often we tend to forget in RPGs that our characters are people, and they're just, I'm going to go on this run to steal this thing. I'm going to go on this epic quest to save the world. But, like, what do you do in the downtime?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
What makes your guy tick when he's not kicking in doors and punching goblins in the face? Like,
that's always really interesting stuff. And I like to let you guys be the sort of craftsman for that kind of stuff, and so if you want to do that, you should definitely do it. We could.
I am all about one time Leroy and Payday going out and stealing Elric a car.
You're gonna take him with you, though, right?
I mean, I imagine it'd be the kind of thing where we kind of put him in the back seat and like, all right, we're gonna drive around a couple of places. For some reason, car dealerships, at least around where I live, there's always like 5 or 6 of them in a small area.
During the
All right.
time, Elric will be totally convinced this is the timing they're planning on shooting him somewhere, so that he can see how it feels.
I mean,
time.
that'll still happen. Like, if we get out of a run or super clear and we're in a bad part of the neighborhood, it'll be like, hey, Elric, bang, as you turn around.
Elric's kind of secretly hoping to get shot in the line of duty, so he doesn't have to get shot by Leroy.
I mean, what'll probably happen is it'll probably be on the, because I haven't gotten shot yet, and I've done a lot of complaining about being shot. And like, oh god, I hope they don't shoot me. And it'll just be like that time where I get shot doing something, probably taking a bullet for him, or because of something that he did. And it's like, all right, well, I took one. It's your turn.
Todd
I assume
David.
you guys have all seen
Todd David has a question for you, Rob. He says, "Is Leroy then going to go buy an orange Dodge Challenger and start jumping over riverbanks?"
I mean, if I were to invest a little bit in some, pilot groundcraft skill, maybe. But first, I got to save up for that third point of edge because I still don't feel safe in some situations.
Why don't you, before you get that one, just burn the lower cost one to get 5 hits on jumping the riverbank?
I mean, I feel like that's a one-time thing. Like, I tell you what, if I'm escaping in a car and the option is to get away from the fuzz by jumping a gorge, I will totally burn that edge for that smackdown there. But, to just run around and just do it, I'll probably hang on to it. But yeah, we'll have that scene like in the first Transformers movie where the parent takes the kid around to look at cars, and then they, drive by the nice places. And they're like, yeah, no, we're not getting you one of those. And then you just drive over to the shitty car lot. And then we won't even buy it. We'll just steal it later on that night. Just case the joint.
Well then, Cliff, what are you looking forward to exploring more then? Also, I like this question.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of along with Rob's line of the sort of downtime local color stuff. I guess more of the horseshoe, because it seems to be an interesting environment, and we started with more players being directly involved in the horseshoe, and now there's not as much tying us to there, but I think the mystery of Rudolph or the mysteries of Rudolph are going to make for some interesting storytelling and potential conflict. And just the unusual sort of shadow community that lives there.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot in the horseshoe just right there by itself to explore. So I'm with you guys. I think that the little tiny personal stories and stuff are the really interesting part. The big corporations and everything, those are always there, like a heavy blanket, but it's those little details that kind of add the flavor and life to the setting. So I'm also looking forward to exploring that kind of stuff. Another question again from the same person is, what do you think, if anything, the campaign needs to get kicked into high gear?
Clearly dragons.
Dragons.
Well, I'm on the player side of thing now, so I can say the thing that my players would say if I said something like this: more money and more karma.
Yeah.
Like, do more crazy stuff. But now that said, we can already do some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So we don't really need more money and more karma, but it never hurts.
I can't obviously give any look into the future, but I know current episodes that are starting to get into some interesting ground. So I just say hang in there. I think it's gonna ramp up on its own.
Yeah. I have some that we haven't played yet. I have some ideas for some interesting things that might cranking things into quote high gear is subjective certainly, but I have some interesting ideas yet to be played out. I always wonder, so one thing that I think is fun to do on our cast party episodes here is just talk more like philosophically how games are run and how we run this one and everything. And I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on some things, which are how do you like to typically, when you're doing a campaign, do you like to start small and ramp up the octane, so to speak, or do you like to throw it at them, pull it back, and go more staccato kind of? How do you guys like to do things?
Dibs on going last.
I'm very much a very kind of street level kind of GM, and those are the stories that I generally like. So I'm pretty slow to I guess ramp it up myself. So I'm enjoying how the story currently is going, because I find the lower rungs of Shadowrunning are more to my liking. So
why is that?
Let's see. I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, I find that there's more, I don't know, there's more attitude down on the streets, down when you're still poor and you're still scraping up and you're still struggling.
You still have to go like street corner to street corner, asking people what the word is and that kind of stuff,
Right.
You were gonna say
something,
something,
certainly
Cliff?
more gritty. Oh, I was gonna say, for me, I guess to answer that, I guess if any of you read Snow Crash, I consider the opening chapter of that to be one of the best openings of any book that I've ever read.
Loved
the
it.
point where there were long parts of the story later on that dragged on for a while, but that first chapter of the pizza delivery scene essentially carried my interest all the way through to the end of the book. And I'm glad it did. The whole book in general is very good, but that bring him right into the action and just show him a different world in your face was really effective. And sometimes I like to go for that. I guess I prefer to open up with more in your face stuff, but then back off to allow to explore the downtown stuff. Yeah, Neil Stephenson's the author of that.
That's interesting. I think.
But I don't know if that's true in my case. I mean, I guess as far as my game mastering style goes, my longest running campaign is out there on the public record.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can go out there and find out how he does it yourself. I tend to do, and I'm kind of doing it now. I tend to side with Damien, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I like setting up campaigns where you're exploring a world, whether it be Seattle that everyone's already familiar with, but you're just exploring it in your own way, or if it's Colombia that you're unfamiliar with and you have to explore it in that way. And for me, like, I like how that happens. It feels better to happen more slowly and slowly unfold. But Rob, you said you wanted to go last.
Yeah, so like I've never run an actual campaign of Shadowrun like in length. I did a couple of little things on my YouTube channel. I got a couple of little projects that I'm doing. But I like to explore the morality. With the one group that I have, the first run I gave them is I told them, like, look, this is going to be a high paying job and a little bit on the lower threat end as far as me running you over the coals for little mistakes that you make, because this is our first game together. I don't know how you play, you don't know how I play. So they were hired to get a box that was 6.5 feet long by 3 feet wide by 1.5 feet tall. Most of you can probably guess about what that is.
I'm guessing it's a coffin.
A missile launcher.
I mean, it could have been missile launchers, but no, it was a coffin. It was, more specifically, it was a coffin in a box. And when they get it and they go to get to talk to the Johnson, it was this high, fancy lady. When they get to the drop off, she's wearing like negligee and she's on a mattress in the middle of an empty third floor like building. And as they come up, she's like, freaking out because it turns out she's addicted to having her essence drained by the vampire that you guys just rescued.
Oh. Plot twist.
So here you have, like, you can't reason with her at this moment because she's a drug addict.
Sure.
And you have her fix right in front of you. She's whacked out. Inside the box is a hermetically sealed vampire because that induces dormancy on them. It also means that if you try to fool her that, hey, I opened the box, it's not going to work because the vampire has not returned to being active because he still doesn't have any air.
Yeah.
And there's no sign of money for you guys anywhere around. And it's like, what do you guys do?
Yeah, I really enjoy... I mean, that's one of my favorite things about Shadowrun is moral ambiguity and living in that gray area. I don't know that I've really done that to you guys yet, but that is something I really enjoy exploring. So, yeah.
Whatever,
It's
sell the
always
vampire.
See, that was the thing. They could have forgone the much higher payday from the Johnson in order to just sell the vampire to somebody who knows. But at the end of the day, like, you're Shadowrunners, you're here to do jobs because you're professional criminals. Selling the vampires.
Contact.
Yeah.
Funny that a couple of runs later, he called him up to help them. The vampire then hired the runners to kill the Johnson that hired them to free the vampire.
So,
But not actually kill her, like to fake her death.
So this leads me to a question I have. It's sort of tangentially related, but how do you guys see your group is sort of coming together now, and you're now like starting to get comfortable together as a team, and you're falling into place, roles and whatnot. How do you guys view your team? And let me sort of better frame this question by telling you the way that I kind of see you guys so far, which is you're kind of like reluctant heroes in my eyes. Do you know what I mean by that?
I would say reluctant villains, but yes.
I'm not sure what's so reluctant about Elric wanting to be a hero. That's kind of one of his driving forces in life.
I think the reluctant part of it is because, yeah, that's a really good point, Cliff. But I think the reason I say reluctant is because you have some other. If you don't consider Elric, then you've got people like Payday who would definitely want nothing more than to just be left alone and make, the next Payday his namesake. But he's got Eon there, kind of as his conscience, pushing him in the other direction. Leroy, I think, doesn't want people to know that deep down somewhere in there there's a soft spot. So that's where I get that feeling from, is like as a whole, not individually, but as a whole, you've got several people who are kind of reluctantly, when faced with it, are gonna be the hero types.
I would agree.
I now have to do bad things all of the time. Bring me a kitten.
And I think that the team is actually slowly starting to come together anyway. I mean, we had a lot of good role playing that kind of brought us together in just a we can work together role. And I think that around the episode that's live now and kind of going forward a little bit, we start to come together a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. And Cliff, you do. I'm glad you made that point about Elric, because I don't think your team has yet been put in a situation where you've had where Elric's had the opportunity to kind of like shine in that way, as the well, how you described it. He wants nothing more to be a hero. I don't think you've been put in a situation yet where you had to be a hero.
Yeah, not really, other than, protecting fellow teammates from danger, which is pretty much we're all doing at the same time.
Right.
On the other side, there hasn't really been any opportunities yet to really be the villain, to really be the
that's a good
person
point.
who doesn't give a damn.
That's true. So far, it's just been like, here's the job, do it.
I definitely feel like there's some reluctance on Leroy's part, because like with the Thor job, it was like, okay, it's not so bad. Go track down one guy, and then it's like, oh, by the way, he's a magician, and Charles like, oh, sounds like so much more work. And that's like, yeah, we just need you to break into a place and get some data. And it's like, oh no, by the way, this is who this is. Like, oh. They have dogs.
And I haven't even deployed Silverback, my big drone, yet.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into like a long, protracted fight. Like we took down Thor pretty well.
Yeah, it was scary. He could have done a lot of damage.
And he had a lot of Valkyries around, and it was like, all right, we just need to not have this guy hit us.
Yeah, I had some good plans for that guy. You guys really foiled me.
I was pretty sure going to that situation that I was going to get mashed. I thought that was going to be my first edge burn.
I was trying to do that.
I was trying not to get mashed, but yeah.
I have to say, the thing that threw me for a loop with Thor, if you guys haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to. It's entitled Thor. It's the mystic adept, insane, huge troll who thinks he is Thor, the god of thunder. They encounter him in the woods, but Leroy is the one who threw me for a loop with his bola launch. I was like, what?
Yeah, for somebody who seems like a badass killer type, Leroy's pretty good at taking people down and using non-lethal means.
Well, he has a
I
background.
mean, usually it's
in,
dead or alive.
Doesn't
And alive is
Leroy
usually
kind of
more.
have a bounty hunting background?
In a background in the way that it was a more of a means to an end. Like he's a little more than a slightly advanced thug. You know.
He's definitely more than an advanced thug. He's got that skill set for those takedowns.
Yeah, he has crime scene investigation type stuff. He's very investigative.
That's how you find the people to punch in the face and take their money.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the thugs just punch them in the face and take their money. You're a bit more subtle about it.
Yeah.
Especially doing that sneaking in and grabbing the key card. That impressed Elric so much. He just thinks Leroy is the coolest person on the team.
It's like, oh god, I
It's
don't need a
basically-
fangirl.
He's trying to like live up to like what Leroy is. So Leroy thinks he's cool.
What would Leroy do?
Right.
I mean, if he shows
Big
up with that
bracelet.
tattoo, we're gonna have a sit down.
Yeah.
No.
The
No, he's not going that far. He certainly wouldn't hero worship him to that degree. But no, he does
I
think
have a new
like
goal.
Leroy is the model for the professional Shadowrunner to Elric.
That's it. We're gonna get Elric drunk and get a temporary tattoo of Leroy on him.
Like, Leroy Senpai, notice me.
Why did you get that?
Uh,
I didn't.
So, got a question in the Certitude or Soy Mage asks, Payday, if there'd been an adept in the party, would he have given the hammer to that person? Well, I'll let you answer and then I'll chime in.
Yeah, you know what? That's an odd one. I'm not exactly sure how Payday would go that way. I mean, one, he'd see the dollar signs there, and I know I believe it was Elric was kind of going that way as well.
Yeah, didn't we just turn that in with the guy for no
Yep.
reason and give up a Drek little
No,
million?
it was our moral conscience that did that.
AKA Pillar.
I don't believe I had any morals getting in the way of that particular thing.
No, Elric and Payday were actually like rattling the chains to get rid of that. Leroy was kind of, he didn't really care either way, if I recall correctly. And Pillar was very, very vehement that we turn it over and that it should have been included.
Yep.
And we got a contact out of it. That was our reward for our honesty. But Payday doesn't care about that guy.
Yeah. You guys, you did get a contact out of it because of that, but I was prepared for you guys to sell that. I expected you to. You know,
if we had
not to drive the dagger in any deeper or anything, but
if there had been an adept in the party that wanted it, I'm sure Payday would have been open to working something out.
Does it
but,
even work
we
that way though? You can't just transfer that stuff, can you?
Yeah, you could totally rebind it. Or bond
Yeah,
it.
it's okay.
You'd have to break the bond.
But you wouldn't
guys-
have to. But you wouldn't have to like what does Shadowrun call it? Enchant it or whatever.
Not re-enchant. You'd have to rebond it.
Yeah. Okay. But the effects that it have would remain the same. You just have to rebind it.
Yeah, you'd have to dump a bunch of karma into it,
Right.
depending on the force.
Yeah.
Ash, street name for Elric. I like it. It's way better than anything anyone else has suggested.
I don't know what you're talking about. You
or
have the
anything
best
that he
name.
may have gotten in the future.
Yeah, Ash is a good one. We actually did get a backstory that for Pillar that Cassie did choose. And if I can pull that up real quick, I will let people know. I was hoping Cassie would be here tonight and she would let people know. But yeah, here it is. It was
no, not Sparky.
Sparky, yeah.
I mean,
it was
if you use the
actually
lightning magic.
suggested by Soy Mage, who is in the chat room right now. So congratulations there, Soy Mage. The last episode we said that we were going to let listeners send in suggestions for how Pillar got her street name, because we talked about, you know, origins of street names in the last episode. And his suggestion was, and I'll read it to you here. It was written in character. I liked it. Said here, hey, Soy Mage here, dropping the real reason behind Pillar's street name. I got a chummer who's finishing up her stretch at the same joint that Pillar was in. Turns out that she got her name on account of her frame, and they had her playing goalie for the inmate soccer team. They'd have called her goalpost, but from what I understand, someone else already had that name locked down and didn't want to get the two of them confused. So it was just, you know, from a nickname from prison because she played soccer. But also, he said, I think I also heard from the same chum that after her name Pillar got one of I'm doing a terrible job at reading. Also heard from the same person that her name Pillar, she got one of, quote, those tattoos. You know, those obnoxious ones that has their name in big bold letters on the back of her shoulders. Those never scare or impress anyone except those silly gangers and wannabes. So she said she had a tattoo and she wanted listeners to tell us what the tattoo was. So she has a tattoo of Pillar in stupid-looking script on her shoulder somewhere.
Oh, I still want Payday to see that.
I imagine it across her back like a jersey.
Yeah.
In Old English.
Yeah, crudely done by the inmates.
Yeah, or maybe it's in Spirithial. You know, would that be the Sixth World equivalent of getting, you know, something written in?
Well, it'd have to be Orzet in this case, though.
That's true.
I think Spirithial tattoos would get your ass kicked in prison a lot more.
That you're probably right about that. And
You're
especially
just being racist about the elf to orc demographic.
Well, it's a pretty racist demographic. There's a lot going on there. You got the elves who live a really long time and they're super pretty and heavily advantaged, and then the orcs who live a really short time and more likely to be impoverished. So yeah, there's some differences there. Most elves don't end up in prison with the orcs.
sounds like a lot of resentment. Rife for resentment between the groups. But that is going to be, I think, the wrapped up the cast party this month.
Ooh, there was actually a last moment good question.
What is that?
Is it spelled correctly?
Is it spelled correctly? Oh, you
What
mean
is?
pillar?
The tattoo.
That's a really good question.
You know, I'm sure we've all seen some terrible
It's like
pictures.
Piller, and it's been corrected to an A afterwards.
Does that tattoo say Piler?
I'm gonna let
great.
Soy Mage decide, since it was his story. But I want to say thank you guys for coming out and listening, and for those of you listening to the show after the fact, we always enjoy doing these. It's kind of just a chance for us to get together and just riff on what we've been doing. You guys have anything you want to say before we go? Anything people will need to look forward to? Any last minute thoughts on awards to give out to team members?
No, I'm interested in seeing people are going to react to Elric's behavior towards the new team member. That was an interesting situation, so
Yeah, I'm looking forward
Curious
to that.
to see how that plays out. Yeah, and then how our actual run goes. I can't wait for the listeners to be caught up with us, at least as far as how that went.
Yeah.
I'm actually just looking forward to. I think it's going to be the next batch of episodes, really, because that's when I missed a session due to that surgery. So
Oh, yeah.
it's actually new to me what happened
Yeah.
there. So
And by the way, we're still all glad you're not dead.
oh, thank you, thanks.
Yeah. In the next episode or the next cast party, we should absolutely be having our new cast member joining us, and it should be revealed by then. And so looking forward to that. I wanted to go ahead and say thank you to our patrons who support us on Patreon. Thank you guys. You guys do an awesome job. One thing I wanted to go ahead and announce about Patreon, some details are going to be forthcoming, but we're going to do something interesting. Again, another sort of try this out experiment. And my daughter has joined me in the room here. You guys hear her? She's telling me she needs to go back to bed. That's true.
That's
You
good.
are.
You have her trained well.
Yeah. Hold on one second, sweetie, and I'll take you upstairs. I'm closing out the show right now. So what we're going to be doing is for our $10 patrons and higher, we're going to be making it possible for you guys to have lottery style be picked to have a guest join us in the cast parties that we do every month. So every month, again, details are going to be coming about how exactly this is going to happen, and what fun stuff we might do with you while you're on the show. But people at the $10 level and higher on Patreon, we're gonna put your name in a hat and pull you and have you join us on the show as a special guest, and that ought to be fun. Another fun way for us to interact with the audience, because that's what we love doing on this actual play, is getting to interact with you guys. And also another fun thing that we're tossing around, but I'm just gonna tease. We have another cool idea for down the road for patrons as well. So if you're interested, if you like the show, if you like what we do on Complex Action and you want to help support it, then go on over to patreon.com/complexaction and consider giving us some support. Again, our website is complexaction.net/actualplay. You can get the most recent episodes there, or you can download them anywhere that you get your podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, podcast catchers. Send us your emails, questions, whatever. Use the contact form on the website. And thanks again for our live audience. And for me and the rest of our cast who's here and not here, thank you guys for being fans of the show. So thank you, and bye everybody.
Bye.
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 See you later, chummers.
All right, I stopped the recording of the podcast, and our live audience here is still able to hear us. And I'm gonna let you guys talk for a minute, while I take Zoe back to bed. I'll be right back.
After party.
So I'm up to about 66% in my Pokedex. Figured you guys might want to know that.
Disgusting, sir.
Why is it disgusting?
I'm just not aboard the Pokemon train.
Is this for Pokemon Go or something else?
Sun and Moon, the new ones.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's way more, respectable, I'd say then.
I have 60 hours of playtime so far.
Sorry, nothing wrong with Pokemon Go for fans of it out there. I just found it disappointing. Probably because my phone wouldn't run it very well, but even when it did, I was like, this isn't what I was hoping for.
There was do you know the Extra Credit guys on YouTube?
No, I don't.
Okay, it's mostly about video game design. They're a bunch of designers, a couple of artists, that kind of thing. I'm gonna try and find the actual thing. They did a how we would have done Pokemon Go kind of thing. And as they're talking about it, it's like, oh my god, this seems awesome. Why couldn't this have been what it was? And I think that might have actually just been it. And then they did some details for like how you can make Pokemon Go, but for like I don't know, dungeons and stuff for like a D&D version of Pokemon Go and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd rather not see Pokemon Go be the model for AR games in the future. Just,
Well, no, if you check it out from what they had on there, it makes it into like actually a game instead of what Pokemon Go is.
Hey, eyes to the chat. We got some after hours questions.
I bought a second point of edge. Other than that, I'm still character and basics.
Payday's saving up for some more drones. That shouldn't be surprising. He's got to fill out a lot of space there, and you really don't have enough toys. Maybe another vehicle. For those times where he doesn't want to get the car shot up, and maybe rounding out a couple skills. Really, nothing too crazy there.
yeah, I think for Elric, let's see, always picking up new spells is that's always very tempting. Having more edge is nice. Yes, I only have 3, and I feel naked with only 3 edge.
Feel so.
So I want to initiate and start getting some meta magics. I was originally kind of start looking the geomancy route, but there's really not much interesting to do as a player character with that.
I've always thought the same thing. Yeah.
So I think it's going to be something that he'll be interested in knowledge skill wise, but I don't see wasting very valuable meta magic resources on it. But yeah, more meta magic. And it's money wise, Elric is going to be saving up money. He wants to have a really badass car, probably. But not another Coco Taxi. That's his sister style. He thinks the Coco Taxi is awesome, genuinely. But some badass car with a really killer, its own pilot rating and some auto softs and stuff.
Todd actually asked a really good question. How do you like alchemy in play?
Less and less as time goes on.
Thank you, Cliff.
It's just so much busy work behind the scenes. I'm spending so much of my time while people are role playing and doing stuff, rolling dice to figure out what my alchemical preparations are going to be for that day. And then when nothing happens that day and we're going to run on a different day, I get to do it all over again. And and then I also seem to keep running into finding various other limitations in the rules that limit even further when I already feel like it's a little underpowered. And I don't know. It's fun to explore, and I'm glad I did, but I think I won't be picking up too many new alchemical formulas as opposed to spells.
Yeah,
it was one of the things I've noticed so far when we were using it. Like, you're like, oh, here's some armor buffs and that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then we use them before we go to do like a run or whatever, and then I never get shot. So it's like, oh, awesome. You spent this time and effort to have the alchemy skill and to have the armor preparation and that kind of stuff, and you took some damage to make it or whatever, and it's like I never used it.
But yeah, my biggest beef with it though is like every session, it's like the amount of busy paperwork involved that's going on behind the scenes is about as much work as it takes to build a character.
Yeah, I tend to let you, I just say, okay, you roll it all and just tell me what you get.
Yeah, if we were rolling dice against each other in it, it would take the entire campaign session just to do my alchemy for 1 or 2 days.
Yeah. We should think about brainstorm ways to streamline.
I got you, bro.
Yeah, I know we talked about this a long time ago.
And I will say, yes, Rob was right. Okay, but I will at least say that I wanted to get a chance to. I do want a chance, give the rules a shot as written and see how it goes, because I'd never really explored it much myself. But
yeah, that's my philosophy in general. But yeah, we should take revisit those house rules.
Yeah. you could throw them in the Twitch chat for those people, because I can't throw links in there.
Sure.
Um,
How do I copy link? There we go. I am gonna say that I'm gonna go ahead and run. Me and Damien have a meeting.
Scheming and planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get going as well. I've got little kiddos who need to go to bed soon, so.
a little bourbon on the lip.
And I have to say to folks that I actually look forward to. There's so many little like tricks and toys that I have on Payday that I'm sure we'll get some use. So as far as like the improvement to characters and like things that we plan on, I've got so much that I haven't even got to even look at yet.
Yeah, as far as.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say you should totally get more of those questions for people who are like, who is most likely to succeed, because those are actually really interesting to think about.
Yeah, we might have to do an episode like that again in the future, especially with our new cast member.
I mean, they're clearly get all the negative ones.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Elric's gonna be too terribly popular after people see how he deals with the new guy.
I'm interested to see how people react to that as well. We might have to make that a topic of conversation on the next cast party.
Yeah, that's a pretty surprising side of Elric that I didn't really expect to come out until that moment.
Yeah.
And it was interesting.
It was. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop streaming, and then I'm gonna kick everybody off the call, so I don't have to call Damien back.
Okay, and I'm gonna turn off my tube and stuff.
All right.
You don't
Well,
have
it
to
was
kick me
fun.
off. I'm leaving.
And thank you, chat, for joining us. We had fun as usual.
Always a pleasure.
But yeah, no. See you guys.
Later, man.
Bye.